Into the latest edition of ESPN FC. I'm Dan Thomas, joined in the studio today by Craig Burley. Ahead of the Manchester derby, the big talking point was, of course, Marcus Rashford being dropped from the squad. We've heard from the English international for the first time today. Speaking to Henry Winter, he said it's disheartening to be left out of a derby. As I've gotten older, I can deal with setbacks. What am I going to do about it? Sit there and cry about it, or do my best the next time I'm available? Now, this about his future. For me, personally, I think I'm ready for a new challenge and the next steps. When I leave, it's going to be no hard feelings. You're not going to have any negative comments from me about Manchester United. That's me as a person. If I know that the situation is already bad, I'm not going to make it worse. I've seen how other players have left in the past, and I don't want to be that person. For more on this, let's welcome in, shall we? Frank Leboeuf. Let's start though with Mark Ogden. Mark, he said he wants to leave, he wants a new beginning, but where will that be?
Well, he's not got many options, Dan. Look, at the end of the day, he's 27 years old. He's on £325,000 a week. That's, $500,000, I guess. He's got 3 years left in his contract, so he's expensive. He's not playing well. He hasn't played well for a long time. So he's probably looking at the best options are stay at Man United, get your head down and try and persuade Ruben Amorim that you've got a future there, or Saudi Arabia, because as much as Saudi Arabia won't appeal from a football perspective, the financial side of it will, and it will appeal to United as well in terms of getting a fee for Rashford. The European market isn't there. The Spanish league, you've got Real Madrid who've got the money to do it, but they haven't got the space in the squad. They don't need him. They're stacked with world-class players. Barcelona haven't got the funds or the inclination to do it. PSG is often rumoured, but they're going a different way now. They're going for younger players. They're not going for more experienced players on big fees and big salaries. I think the domestic market in the Premier League, that's unlikely as well. Chelsea don't sign players over the age of 24. Arsenal have signed Raheem Sterling on loan this season, hasn't worked out. They can't accommodate Rashford. Liverpool, Man City, forget those two. Tottenham haven't got the money or the need for Rashford. So you're looking at Saudi Arabia, and that is a sad state of affairs for a guy who should be in the peak of his career, but his England career right now is in deep freeze, isn't it? It's not really going anywhere. So maybe going to Saudi Arabia isn't going to cost him his international career. So financially it'll work out for him. But is it where he should be? I don't know. But I think that is what he's looking at. It's Saudi Arabia or stay at Man United.
Mark, how did we get here? As you say, this is a player who should be in his prime at the moment.
Well, if you look at Marcus Rashford's career over the last 3 or 4 years, he had a real spike of form after the World Cup in Qatar in 2022, ended the season with 30 goals. But, either side of that, his form has been really poor. So it's been a kind of a long decline this for Marcus Rashford. United panicked a little bit 18 months ago by giving a new contract. They thought PSG were interested. Their interest wasn't as firm as it seemed, and he's gone off the rails. His career has gone off the rails. He's had indiscipline issues with Erik ten Hag previously. He's been dropped for games because of off-field incidents. It's just not going anywhere. His career is flatlined, and I think he's probably right. He does need a new challenge, but he's now only 6th manager at Man United in Ruben Amorim, and it can't all be the manager's fault. If there's 6 different managers, one of them you'd think would get something out of Marcus Rashford. I think sometimes you just have to sit down and look in the mirror and think, it's him. It's his fault, not the managers that he's played for.
I'll tell you why we're at this stage. Attitude. The only thing that's disheartening, and he mentioned disheartened in his statement or his interview, the only thing disheartening is his performances and his attitude. And he had a challenge. He didn't need a challenge, a new challenge. He had a challenge. That challenge was to go and push on from that great season that Augie talked about when he got this huge new contract off the back of this scintillating season, and it was. But he failed that challenge because his attitude was, I've got the deal, I'm going to go back onto easy street. And a lot of players do that, but the real top players, both at Man United and at other clubs and in other countries, doesn't matter what you pay them, they just push on. Mm-hmm. They push on for their career and for the team and for themselves. He has not. And we didn't mention the other thing that was mentioned in this sort of interview or tweet from Henry Winter about him handing out presents to the school kids and all that sort of stuff, as if that's got any correlation to, he's a nice guy with the kids. I get that. It's fine. I applaud him for that, but it's got absolutely nothing to do with what he does on the field. Absolutely nothing to do with it. It's a sideshow. It's charity, and if he wants to do that, that's great. His employers, his owners, his teammates and his supporters are only interested in what he does on the field. only interested in that. All these other sort of sideshows, you can just go and get on with it, and it's so disappointing. And he's making out as if, in a sense, it's just not happened for me, and I need a new challenge, and I need to, as if, everything's conspiring against him. It's a mirror job, as Augie said. It's him, and I wouldn't touch him if I was a manager. I wouldn't. Maybe if you gave him one a free, and he was on an incentivized pay-as-you-play sort of bonus deal, maybe I'd take a chance on him. Because if he runs off the rails, I can go, you know what, go back. But for that kind of wages, for that kind of attitude, am I taking the risk? No, I don't think so.
Frank, it's interesting. Obviously, you've talked before, and we've seen you play before, that maybe you weren't the most talented, but you worked the hardest you possibly could. Given the talent Marcus Rashford clearly has, does this make you sad or angry to see it go to waste?
I'm sad, and I feel for him, because at one point he's going to regret that, and he's going to feel it as well, and that he missed the point. I think by himself, Rashford is an oxymoron in a way that is crazy, but you have to separate the man to the player. As a man, he never forgot what happened to him when he was young, and it's why he's helped his communities and giving gifts to people, to kids for Christmas. That's huge. That's fantastic. But he forgot that as a player. He's not hungry anymore. He doesn't want to fight for that, for what he has done before. That's what strives every player. Normally, you're a football player because you suffered, because you were starved, and you want to fight because you don't want that to happen again. We have another example, Anthony. That's the same kind of player. They're good people, but they forgot as football players what it takes to become a football player. I feel for him, because 2 years ago, he was one of the best forward in the world. So he knows exactly. He says, what can I do? I'm going to try to do my best. No, we are still waiting. We've been waiting for 2 years to be the best. And he says also during this interview that he gives 100%. I'm sorry, Marcus, you don't give 100%. We saw you giving 100%. That was a total different player. So I'm sorry, but as much as I appreciate the guy, I feel, sad, a little bit angry, but sad for him, because he will regret after his career what he didn't do.
Ruben Amorim, of course, impressed a lot of people with the way that he spoke about his decision before and after the game, Mark. He said it wasn't disciplinary reasons. It wasn't it?
Yeah, I think Amorim was being clever there. He was trying to give Rashford an olive branch, I think, by saying that, I'll protect you a little bit. Look, he said enough, Amorim, to suggest that it wasn't football related, but he did do enough to say, look, if you get your head down, this week is a new week, you start again, new life, consider for the game at Tottenham. But I do think that Rashford's taken the nuclear option with this interview. He had two options, Rashford, when he knew he was speaking to Henry today. It was either be conciliatory, say, look, I've got to get my head down, I want to be a part of the Ruben Amorim project at Man United, I think this team's going places, or he goes the other way and basically says, I want to leave, and he's done that. It's a brilliant interview. I mean, as a journalist, you think, great, a player's being honest, but there's a little bit of kind of, feeling sorry for himself and blaming everybody else apart from himself in this. And I think, I don't know how Ruben Amorim can now take him in the squad to Tottenham at the next game or whenever United play after that, because he's basically said, I don't want to be here. And if you've got a player saying that so openly, the fans already have lost patience with Marcus Rashford. If he goes onto the pitch now with that attitude and everyone knows that about him, Rashford just basically said, I want to go, and I want to go as soon as possible.
Has he played his last game, do you think, for United?
Possibly not, because of the reasons that Augie said. Is that in January, where do you ship him to? Who's knocking the door down to take him away? So he could still be hovering around, and probably will be.
Hello, Red Devils. Today, we've got a massive update regarding Marcus Rashford. The United star and academy graduate has hinted that he's ready for a new challenge, leaving fans questioning what's next for him. Could this mean he's eyeing a move abroad, or is it part of ongoing talks with the club? Either way, this statement puts pressure on United to show ambition and prove that Old Trafford remains the best place for him to achieve greatness. But here's the big question. If Rashford does leave, where could he go? PSG and Real Madrid have shown interest before, and there's always the worry of seeing him in the Premier League with a rival. What do you think, Reds? Will Rashford stay and lead us to glory, or is this the start of a shocking exit? Let us know your thoughts below.